Welcome back. Now, as Father's Day comes to a close, we reflect on what this day means to men who have kids, first-time dads and the veterans. Comedian Donovan Goliath is a first-time dad to a little girl, and he joins me now to speak about this and his journey as a father. And he has received, and what he has received as a Father's Day gift. But we'll get into that before. But we first want to ask you about your journey as a father. Thank you so much for your time, Donovan. I think viewers will eventually realize why I'm laughing so much. But we'll get to that point later in the interview. But let's just speak about, your journey into fatherhood and what are some of the lessons you've learned. You are a comedian, you're a content creator, and we've seen your beautiful content with your gorgeous daughter. So maybe just take us through your journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Gosh, it's flown by, number one, but it's such a difficult one to explain, because people tell you, they can describe what it's like to have a child, but you'll never really know until you have one. I'll tell you one thing, though. The one thing that it has taught me is how precious time is. So, when I was involved in stand-up comedy quite a bit, I was out a lot. I would go to everything, the opening of an envelope, but then I would step back and go, no, man, I don't need to be here. All I want to do is just spend time at home with my little girl as much as possible. And what she's taught me actually is really just to appreciate the simple things again. Sometimes we take for granted something as simple as stepping out, going to a park, for example, and just, appreciating nature, appreciating freedom, and just being out there, playing, all the things that you forget because you get so caught up in the rat race, you get so caught up in trying to hustle, make money, and, do all of these things that, when you have a little one, they kind of bring you down to your level and just force you, to stop and breathe and, just take time to live a little. So, I mean, in a nutshell, I think that's what it's been for me, and I absolutely love it. It makes me feel like I'm a kid again. I can't wait for her, when she's maybe in 2 years' time or so. I can't wait to give her a camera and take her on photography missions, go for a hike and just make her start appreciating things, art, music. My wife is a classical violinist, so we're going to get her into music as well. And it's just going to be so interesting, seeing it from a child's eyes, like watching her experience these things that you appreciate so much, but, just from a very fresh perspective. And that's what I'm excited about.
Certainly, and I think what's even more so beautiful about being a father is seeing their world through their innocent eyes and being so brave and courageous because, they're so innocent, so they don't know the dangers of this world and the ugly of this world. But I want to ask you a question in the context of, we have an issue of absent fathers in this country. We have a major issue of GBV, especially at the hands of fathers, husbands, loved ones. You always ask yourself, how could somebody do that to their loved ones, to their daughters, to their children? And it's a real issue. And, as a first-time father, as somebody who's spoken so beautifully about fatherhood, how important do you think it is for you to go into these communities where there are these challenges to educate young men to be better people and better fathers?
I think it's absolutely vital. I'm actually part of a program with a big brand where every month or 2 months we go live on Instagram with a big celebrity. We just did one recently with Sia Kolisi, with a therapist and with another gentleman. So it's just 4 guys chatting about mental health, chatting about things like GBV and speaking to each other, breaking the stereotype about men always having to be strong, men don't cry, etc., etc. And interesting that you mentioned this. About 2 days ago, I bumped into somebody who came up to me and said, "Hey, man, do you mind if I take a picture with you?" So I said, "No, cool." So I asked him if he's been to one of my shows, and he said, "No. I watched one of those IG lives that you did where you spoke about, mental health, amongst men." And I was like, "Oh wow, I didn't think many people would watch that kind of thing." And he's like, "No, you guys changed my life. I just looked at this from a completely different perspective. And, you actually encouraged me to tell my dad for the first time that I love him to his face. And he was so shocked by that, because in his culture, that's not something that was said to him quite often. And he says he just felt this huge sense of relief when he said it. And, he was going through a really rough patch, and, we may have saved his life. And it really hit me, and that's just like one little part. I mean, that's just going on Instagram, every 2 months or so. And, myself and the guys who are on this group, we often say that we need to do a lot more of this. We need to go out there, go into communities, chat to young men. My business partners, Nicholas and Jason Goliath, we were part of a program with Brand South Africa called Play Your Part. And we would go to schools all around the country, just chatting to young kids, especially boys, trying to encourage them, trying to let them know that they are worth it, that they can be whatever they want to be. We come from these communities. We've grown up. We've done, everything that we've needed to do to inspire, to motivate, and just be the best people we could possibly be. So, yeah, it's absolutely vital, And for me, I must be honest with you, having a little girl really, really freaked me out at first, because I know very well that the world isn't set up and designed for women. It's just very difficult for women out there. And, to be a man, having this little baby, I think there's an extra challenge apart from just raising a baby, but raising a little girl, in a country like South Africa, in a messed up world, poses a very, very different threat. And you start to rethink things a little bit. You constantly have this anxiety. I mean, every time my wife drives out of the garage, if they go somewhere, I'm just always trying to check up on them as much as possible. I never relax at all. Excuse me. So I'm a complete advocate, for spreading this message as much as possible.
Certainly. And I mean, there's just a whole different anxiety having a daughter in this country. But let's move on to something a little bit lighter. We know that the go-to for gifts for dads have always been socks or ties. But maybe it's time for new gifts. You've asked a few dads what they want for Father's Day. Some of the responses were interesting, and others were actually quite hilarious. So tell us, did you receive socks today for Father's Day?
I didn't receive socks for Father's Day. My wife kept hounding me, asking me what I wanted, but I don't want anything, because I don't need anything. I just wanted to spend the day with them, which is exactly what we did. She made us breakfast, and we went and we had a really great lunch somewhere. And that's all I need, So from a gift point of view, I mean, they give me everything I need, and it's really just time. I just need time with them. That's it for me. But that post was actually hilarious. It was part of a big Father's Day campaign I was working on, and some of the responses were amazing. Guys got really, really honest. There was one guy who said he just needs like a set of tires. Just give me 4 tires. I'll be very happy. People were asking for cars. One guy said he needs somebody to braai for him. Somebody said peace and quiet. The most controversial one, though, a guy said another wife. And I was, hey.
I'm actually on the post right now. We're playing some of it, and somebody says the remote control. I'm tired of watching Frozen. Somebody says to win an argument. Not socks. I want to start getting money as gifts. Fathers against socks must rise up. Somebody actually is look at this on the TV now about the shorts. Don't be boring, baby mama. Give incredible. Them what they gave us. This one was my favorite. I take a size 5 kW solar inverter installed and working. So people are now really saying, actually, I think I want an inverter because of the load shedding. A wife that stops nagging. Donovan, I hope you didn't ask for a wife that stops nagging.
No, I didn't at all. But what I loved about this campaign is, Father's Day, it's interesting. When I started working on this, Father's Day is an interesting one. It never really gets a lot of PR, It's just kind of one of those days where you're like, yeah, cool. Give daddy socks, give him his tie, and then you move on. And I think a lot of people appreciated that I was trying to make a noise about it. And so that's why a lot of guys stood up and went, hey, actually, if we put our minds to it, this really is what we're looking for. I mean, a lot of it is obviously impossible. Nobody's just going to go out there and buy you a set of tires, for example. But it got a conversation going, and it got really interesting traction, all in the name of fun, obviously. I mean, we weren't taking this ultra seriously. Maybe some were, But I'm just glad that, we started that conversation and a lot of people jumped on it. And hopefully, I did make a promise at the end of a video that I posted about 2 days ago when I, shared some of these comments that I've got some friends, who work for big brands that would maybe come on board and actually gift a dad, what they actually really want. So that would be a second part of this journey. And if that does happen, maybe we'll have another conversation and we're making it difficult, I think, for a lot of people next year. So the gifts, I think, are going to get more elaborate. We'll see. And
yeah,
this is all my fault.
We'll see about that. But let me tell you, my dad loves his socks, and I'm pretty sure my husband will also love his socks. Thank you so much for your time. That was comedian Donovan Goliath talking to us about the fatherhood journey and reminding us that dads don't want socks for Father's Day. But my dad always used to accept my gifts as socks, so that's okay. Still to come.